How does the most dominant coach the NFL has ever seen get told to wait his turn while the football world collectively rubs its eyes in disbelief? Because that's exactly what just happened, and now one of the loudest voices in league history has finally had enough. Terrell Owens isn't whispering. He's not being subtle. He's lighting a match and throwing it straight at the Pro Football Hall of Fame committee. And what he said about Bill Belichick's shocking snub has turned this into something much bigger than football. This isn't just about a vote anymore. It's about power, ego, and who really decides legacy in the NFL. For decades, Bill Belichick has been the standard, the measuring stick, the final boss of professional football. 7 Super Bowl rings, 6 as a head coach, 1 as a defensive coordinator. 20 years of dominance. A dynasty so ruthless it broke fan bases, ruined careers, and forced the entire league to rewrite how football was played, coached, and managed. And yet, when Belichick became eligible for the Pro Football Hall of Fame, the room said no. Not now. Not yet. And that decision has detonated a firestorm that refuses to die down. The outrage didn't come from casual fans alone. It came from legends. From people who lived inside locker rooms, who bled on the same fields, who understand exactly how rare Belichick's resume truly is. Reggie Jackson, a Major League Baseball Hall of Famer, looked at the decision and summed it up in 4 words that echoed across social media. The definition of WTF. That post alone captured what millions were thinking. But then Terrell Owens took it several steps further, and when Tio speaks, people listen. Owens didn't just question the vote. He questioned the competence of the people holding the power. He compared the Hall of Fame committee to a group of individuals abusing authority, saying they were no different than what he described as chaos in the White House. His message wasn't polished. It wasn't filtered. It was raw frustration from someone who knows exactly how broken the system can be. Owens pointed directly at the Pro Football Hall of Fame and said Bill Belichick shouldn't even need a committee. With that resume, induction should be automatic. No debate. No politics. No waiting. That line hit like a punch to the chest because it exposed the uncomfortable truth fans don't like to admit. The Hall of Fame isn't just about greatness. It's about perception, relationships, narratives, and sometimes grudges. Terrell Owens knows this better than most. His own Hall of Fame journey was messy, delayed, and deeply controversial despite numbers that screamed first ballot. So when he speaks on snubs, this isn't theory. It's lived experience. Bill Belichick's career doesn't just check boxes. It obliterates them. He didn't simply win Super Bowls. He reshaped the league. He turned late-round draft picks into legends. He made game plans so specific they felt surgical. Opposing quarterbacks would spend weeks preparing only to look completely lost by halftime. Coaches across the league copied his methods, his staff, his philosophies. Entire coaching trees exist because of him. And yet, somehow, the Hall of Fame committee decided this wasn't enough to walk straight in the door. That's where the anger comes from. Not confusion. Anger. Because when you delay someone like Belichick, you're not honoring the Hall. You're cheapening it. You're telling fans that dominance can be negotiated, that history can be postponed, that the greatest coach ever needs to wait behind a velvet rope while less accomplished figures smile for gold jackets. Terrell Owens wasn't alone in saying it out loud. Across the league, former players, analysts, and fans reacted with disbelief. Many asked the same question. If Bill Belichick isn't first ballot, then what does first ballot even mean anymore? Is it popularity? Is it media friendliness? Is it narrative fatigue after 2 decades of winning? Because it sure is an accomplishment. Belichick was never flashy. He never begged for approval. He didn't play the media game. He gave short answers, wore the same cut-up hoodie, and let trophies do the talking. And maybe that's the problem. The Hall of Fame vote is done by humans, not spreadsheets. Humans with opinions. Humans with biases. Humans who might still be holding on to the image of Belichick the villain, the guy who ruined parity, the coach who always seemed one step ahead. But greatness doesn't ask permission. It demands recognition. And Terrell Owens understands that better than most. His comparison to politics wasn't accidental. He was pointing out what happens when power is centralized and unchecked. When small groups get to decide legacy, the line between honor and agenda gets dangerously thin. The irony is impossible to ignore. The Pro Football Hall of Fame exists to preserve football history, to tell the story of the game through its greatest contributors. And yet, by delaying Bill Belichick, they've rewritten that story in real time. They've introduced doubt where there should be none. Debate where there should be consensus. And let's be clear. This isn't about whether Belichick will eventually get in. Of course he will. That's not the point. The point is what the delay represents. It represents control. It represents gatekeeping. It represents the idea that even the greatest can be humbled by a vote. Terrell Owens ended his message with a line that turned heads. Make the Hall of Fame great again. It was sarcastic. It was pointed. And it carried weight because it echoed a sentiment growing louder by the day. Fans don't want drama in the hall. They want truth. They want honesty. They want the story told correctly. Bill Belichick's story is simple. He won more than anyone. He outlasted everyone. He outthought everyone. And he changed football forever. Delaying that truth doesn't protect the hall. It exposes it.so. Now the question shifts from Belichick to the committee itself. Who are they protecting? What message are they sending? And how many other legacies have been filtered through personal interpretation instead of objective greatness? Terrell Owens didn't just defend Bill Belichick. He challenged the entire system. And once that door is opened, it's very hard to close. Because fans are paying attention. Former players are paying attention. And every future Hall of Fame vote will now be viewed through this lens of skepticism. This moment will be remembered. Not as the year Bill Belichick wasn't inducted, but as the year people finally questioned how much power the Hall of Fame should really have. Owens may have been loud, but he wasn't wrong. When the greatest coach ever has to wait, something is broken. And that brings us back to you. Because this isn't just about what happened. It's about what should happen next. Should the Hall of Fame committee rethink how they operate? Or is this delay justified in any way? Was Terrell Owens right to call them out so aggressively? Or did he cross a line? And most importantly, if Bill Belichick isn't a no-doubt first-ballot Hall of Famer, then who is? Drop your take in the comments. I want to know exactly where you stand on this, because this conversation isn't going away anytime soon. And the deeper you look at this situation, the harder it becomes to defend the decision that was made. Because if the Hall of Fame is supposed to be about impact on the game, then Bill Belichick's fingerprints are literally everywhere you look in today's NFL. From defensive disguises to situational football, from roster construction to game management, entire front offices and coaching staffs are built on principles that trace directly back to him. Sundays across the league still feel like echoes of his philosophy, even now. That's not coincidence. That's influence. What makes this sting even more is the timing. This was the moment many fans expected closure. Belichick's era with the Patriots has ended. The dynasty has been dissected from every angle, and history finally had the chance to stand still and acknowledge what it witnessed. Instead, the door stayed shut, and that decision created a void filled instantly by anger and disbelief. Terrell Owens didn't create that outrage. He simply gave it a voice that there's also an uncomfortable double standard that fans keep circling back to. Players and coaches with far thinner resumes have walked into the hall on their first try with little resistance. Yet the man who defined winning for 2 decades is told to wait. That disconnect is why so many believe this isn't about football anymore. It's about personality. It's about how Belichick made people feel. And when personal feelings start influencing legacy, the entire purpose of the hall comes into question. Owens' comments also reopened old wounds about how legends are treated once they're no longer useful to the league's current narrative. Belichick was the face of dominance when the NFL needed a villain, and a hero rolled into one. Now that the league has moved on to new stars and new storylines, some fans feel like history is being quietly reshaped to fit the present. That's a dangerous game to play, because fans never forget when the truth is delayed. What happens next matters. Not just for Belichick, but for every future Hall of Fame candidate. This moment sets a precedent. If the greatest coach ever can be debated, then greatness itself becomes subjective. And once that happens, the Hall of Fame stops being a museum of excellence and starts feeling like a committee-driven popularity contest. Terrell Owens understood that instantly. His frustration wasn't just about Belichick. It was about respect, about acknowledgement, about honoring the game the right way. You don't need theatrics. You don't need suspense. You don't need to manufacture drama when the resume already tells the story. The Hall of Fame will eventually make this right. They almost have to. But the damage is already done. Trust has been shaken. Questions have been raised. And the conversation around power and legacy in the NFL has been permanently changed. So now the spotlight isn't just on Bill Belichick anymore. It's on the people who decide who gets remembered, when, and why. And after this, Every vote they cast will be scrutinized harder than ever.